What happens when you approach or reach that limit on coal and gas in terms of what powers does the minister have? How do you think they're going to mediate whether to allow new fossil fuel projects or projects in other industries? And are you concerned that this means that if abatement is better than expected in reducing emissions in existing industries, that will create more room for new fossil fuel projects?
Well, on the second one, the overwhelming majority of the entities covered by this safeguard scheme are fossil fuel projects. 57% of the emissions are coal, oil and gas. So I think that scenario that you've just outlined is unlikely to occur. In terms of what happens under the legislation now, as you start, if it looks like that cap is going to be reached, and that can be because of advice from the Climate Change Authority, who now will be required to advise about the potential impact of new emissions, or from other sectors as these projects work their way through the approval process, then the minister's got to decide to act. And the minister has to ensure that pollution stays under the cap. They have to design a scheme that will do that. And there's a number of things that they can do, including putting severe restrictions on the new project. Now, I think, as I've said, I think it'd be very unlikely that a future minister would say that it's more important for a new coal mine to go ahead rather than a new lithium mine. But the powers that the minister has under the legislation will be very broad, and they can include putting restrictions that could result in effectively stopping the new project. Well, that, like everything else, will have to go through the tests that are there. We'll be campaigning hard now to stop the Narrabri project from going ahead. All of these projects will now be subject to this hard pollution cap that is going to be put in legislation for the first time.
Just following on from that question, the Scarborough project, and you can Senator Cox if you want to make some comment. Can that possibly go through?
Well, under the new legislation, there will be a hard cap on pollution. New coal and gas projects that push emissions above that, as has been projected, including by the government, will now have to be addressed. And the minister will have powers to take severe action against those new projects. Potentially other things they could do, like ask everyone else, like ask the steelworks or the glass factory to bear a bigger burden, but I think that would be untenable. So all of these projects now will be subject to this hard cap on emissions, and they won't be able to buy their way out of it.